Hey there, I'm Julie, and this is the Married to Addiction podcast. If you're here, then you're probably what I call my secret sister. We're in a situation we never asked to be in and fighting a battle we never wanted to fight. We're faith-filled women who are married to an alcoholic, and it affects every inch of our lives. If that sounds like you, then this is a safe place for you to land. Married to Addiction is a faith-based podcast where I help you find the tools and strength you need to navigate your husband's addiction without losing yourself in the process. So please subscribe and tune in as often as you can, because your husband's recovery is important, but so is yours. Hello, and welcome in to episode 126 of the Married to Addiction podcast. Today's episode is called The Loneliness of Keeping a Secret in Public. So if you've been listening for a while, you know that I talk a lot about the emotional weight of being married to an alcoholic. The fear, the exhaustion, the grief. We've talked about all of that here on the podcast. But today I want to talk about something that doesn't really get named specifically enough. Something that I think it is actually one of the heaviest parts of this experience and also one of the most isolating, and that is the specific loneliness of carrying the secret of your husband's addiction. And I'm not talking about just feeling alone, but also performing normalcy day after day in front of people who have no idea what's happening in your life and inside your home. So I want you to think for a second about your average week. So maybe you drop the kids off at school and you see another mom that you know and you make small talk with her, or you go sit in a church pew on Sunday and you sing worship songs next to people who think that your marriage is fine. Or at work, you're asked, "How are you?" And you just say, "Good, thanks," because honestly, what else are you going to say? And then you drive home in silence and you start to feel it. That particular kind of loneliness that comes from not being by yourself, but from being surrounded by people who don't know the real version of your life. That's the loneliness I want to talk about today. There are a lot of reasons why we choose to keep our husband's addiction a secret. And I want to name them because I think when we understand why we're being silent, we can be a little bit gentler with ourselves about it and have a little more understanding of how this is affecting us. So some of us stay quiet about it because we want to protect our husbands. This was part of why I did. We love them and we don't want people to look at them differently or to judge them or to write them off, which is why I really didn't say anything to my family. Not that they're judgmental people, but I just didn't want them to think bad about him because he's a good person underneath, even when he was deep in addiction. Even when we're angry and exhausted, there's still a part of us that wants to shield them sometimes. And that was definitely something that I did for a really long time. Some of us stay quiet because we want to protect our kids. So we don't want our children's teachers or coaches or their friends' parents to see our family differently or to see our kids' family differently and to think differently about them. And we don't want our kids to feel the shame of all of that at school if it ends up becoming common knowledge. Some of us stay quiet because we're not even sure anyone would believe us, especially if your husband is a high functioning alcoholic, the kind that goes to work and shows up at church and maybe coaches the little league team. This is the kind of person and the kind of guy that everyone else thinks is wonderful. And so you've learned that when you hint at the truth or you say something negative that might be contradictory to that, people kind of look at you a little bit sideways. And so you just stop mentioning it, stop hinting at, that there might be some other stuff going on. And some of us stay quiet because we're ashamed. Not because we did anything wrong, but because shame doesn't wait for logic. Shame sometimes just settles in and tells you that this is yours to carry. And this is maybe not something that you're supposed to be dealing with as a Christian wife. And maybe sometimes you've wondered to yourself if you chose wrong, right? Those types of things. So instead, we suffer with this alone and we suffer with it quietly. And we carry it around with us wherever we go. So in the school parking lot, in the church pew, at the dinner table, at work, at every single social gathering where somebody asks how things are going, you just say, fine. But here's what I want you to hear today. That weight is real. And the loneliness of performing a life that you're not actually living is exhausting in a way that is really hard to explain to somebody who hasn't done that. And it takes something out of you every single time you put that perfect persona out in public. And it can start to feel like this is just how it has to be. Like your only two options are to either keep the secret or blow up your life by sharing it. But I want to actually offer you a third option today, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But first, I want to say this. The secrecy is not just hard on you emotionally, it's actually keeping you stuck. Because when we can't talk about something, we can't process it. And when we can't process it, we can't move through it. And when we can't move through it, we stay in a holding pattern where we're just managing the days, surviving the evenings, white knuckling our way through the weekends without anything ever actually getting better. You were not designed to carry this alone. And that's not just something that I say here just to say it. I'm sure you've heard me say it often, but it's really true. We are not built for isolated suffering. We need somewhere to put this. We need somewhere to express this. We need someone or something that can hold it with us. And the problem for most of us is that the places that we normally turn to for things like that, our friends, our family, our church community, it now feels too risky. It feels too close to home. It feels too likely to change how people see us or see our husbands or see our kids. So the secret stays a secret and we stay stuck. That is exactly why I created the Secret Sister Circle, which I'm sure you have heard me mention that before many times, because what you need and what I needed back when my husband was deep in addiction is a place that is private, because I still wanted that. I wanted to be able to process this, without having to share it with a bunch of people in my life, but also is a place where you can be truly understood and you can take your mask off and you can have access to real, detailed, specific, faith-based help in the privacy of your home at any time you need it, even if that's at 2 a.m., if that's when it hits you or that's when you need some help. The Secret Sister Circle is a private online membership. It's not a place where you have to raise your hand or introduce yourself or tell your story or any of that. Yes, there is a private group that is a part of it. It is optional. You don't have to join the private group. And if you do, you don't have to ever say anything or post anything. There are no introductions. When you join the private group, it is private. You join, there's no fanfare. Yes, I'm happy to have you there, and I'm sure the other members are too, but I don't call people out because I know that there is a lot of, privacy that is very valued by those of us who are walking in this situation. So there is none of that in the group. You can talk if you want. You don't have to if you don't want to. But everything else that is available to you, which is the bigger part of the Secret Sister Circle, is the private library of lessons. And those are organized by topic. They are self-paced. They are there when you need them. And they are built specifically for you as the Christian wife of an alcoholic. It's the help that nobody in your life ever has to know you're getting. And I don't just talk about the SSC as a sales pitch. Of course, yes, I want you to come and join us in there. But this is what I needed. This is what I so desperately needed when I was going through this. And it is literally designed to be just that, what I needed and what I couldn't find, because I know what it feels like to need help and have nowhere that feels safe for you to go for that help. So I built the thing that I wish had existed back when I was in the thick of it. So if you've been thinking about the SSC, I would love to encourage you again to try it out. You can get a free 7-day trial right now with no commitment and no pressure at secretsistercircle.com. But even if the Secret Sister Circle isn't the right fit for you right now, I still want you to walk away from this episode with this. I want you to know that the secret you're keeping is costing you more than you know. Not because you should go tell everyone, because you don't have to do that. Your story is yours. You get to decide who holds that story with you. But the isolation that comes from keeping this completely contained and from never having a single safe place to be honest about what you're living through, that isolation is part of what makes this so hard to survive. So you deserve somewhere to put this down, to share this if you want to get some guidance around this in private if you want to, if you need to, even if no one in your real life ever knows you do it. And whether that is through the private online Secret Sister Circle, or whether you find another support group that you can go to that you feel comfortable with, or whether there's one person in your life who you think that you can confide in that can help you through this, whether it is, a counselor that maybe specializes in addiction, whatever that looks like for you, You are not meant to carry this alone, and you don't have to. And it is so much easier when you don't try to go through this in that way. So I hope that's been helpful for you. I thank you so much for listening. And until next time, please take good care of you. And that includes releasing the weight of this secret. I'll see you next time. Quick question for you before I let you go today. Have you been to the Married to Addiction website? If you haven't, I would love if you would go pay it a visit. It's just marriedtoaddiction.com. And over there, you can see just a lot of different information about my podcast. There is a blog on there. There's some free resources for you. And there's also a few ways that you can actually get some help if you need a little more help and direction and support as you travel this difficult path with your addicted husband. So if you haven't yet, please go visit marriedtoaddiction.com. Thanks so much.